Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 69 of Diehlman at Halftime, the NBA podcast that tops all others. I'm your host, Larry Diehlman. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome aboard, and if you've been a loyal listener, welcome back. We have much to get to today and not a lot of time to do it. We have 4 sections that we'll get into: a general overview of the NBA this week, and our usual highlight, lowlight, and random stat. Whoa, Larry, what happened to Game of the Week? I said in the previous episode that since we're down to the last matchup of the year, we're done with Game of the Week for the rest of the season. Game of the Week gets a well-deserved break, and we'll substitute it with other segments in the meantime. Anyway, let's get to our content for the week. Despite a successful season, the New York Knicks made a shocking move on Tuesday. Head coach Tom Thibodeau was relieved of his duties. Thibodeau is now the 5th NBA head coach to be fired this season, and his 4 predecessors were canned mid-season. Mike Brown of the Sacramento Kings, Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies, Michael Malone of the Denver Nuggets, and Mike Budenholzer of the Phoenix Suns. The Knicks were eliminated in 6 games by the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals a little over a week ago. Acquiring Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns in the offseason was supposed to help the Knicks beat the mighty Celtics. They did, but Indiana avoided the same fate. Fans and media members always point out Thibodeau's short bench rotations as his biggest weakness, although he was breaking from tradition a little bit in the Pacers series. Thibodeau's overall regular season record with New York was 226 and 174, a winning percentage of 56.5%, and he was 24 and 23, a winning percentage of 51.1% in the playoffs. In his 5 seasons with the Knicks, they missed the playoffs once, lost in the first round once, made the conference semifinals twice, and this season New York appeared in the conference finals for the first time since 2000. The Phoenix Suns made a hire on Wednesday. Cleveland Cavaliers assistant coach Jordan Ott will become the team's new head coach. He and Johnny Bryant, Cleveland's associate head coach, were the final 2 candidates in the running. Ott was apparently the top choice for Suns superstar Devin Booker. Ott will look to stop an alarming trend for Phoenix since he is the Suns' 4th head coach in 4 seasons. Monty Williams was fired in 2023, Frank Vogel was canned last year, and Mike Budenholzer was shown the door in April. The 40-year-old Ott has been an NBA assistant since 2012. He was the Atlanta Hawks video coordinator from 2013 to 16, an assistant coach for the Brooklyn Nets from 2016 to 22, a Lakers assistant from 2022 to 24, and an assistant for the Cavaliers last season. Lastly, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, in a press conference before Game 1 of the NBA Finals, said the league will discuss expansion at next month's board meeting, and there's some optimism that it'll be recommended to be formally explored. If that were to happen, he mentioned the next steps would involve researching markets and economic and media opportunities. Expansion, Silver said, is not automatic, however. Seattle and Las Vegas are heavy favorites to be the cities for expansion, if the NBA favors it. In addition to U.S. expansion, the league is also in early stages of European talks. Silver said that it might be a couple of years before this is a reality, but the NBA is trying to add a new league in Europe. The NBA and FIBA are aiming for 16 teams. When asked about a potential launch date, he mentioned the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics as, quote, a good launching pad for an announcement around a new competition, unquote. London, Manchester, Rome, and Munich are expected to have interest. This episode is entitled Thunder and Lightning. So, who's raising eyebrows at the moment? Let's go to our highlight, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Erasing a tough loss with a strong bounce-back win is crucial in any playoff series, and this is no different for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are tied 1-1 in the NBA Finals with the Indiana Pacers. Their Game 2 domination was a good sign since they honestly should be up 2-0. Game 1 just slipped away at the wrong time. Blowing a 15-point fourth quarter lead can set the tone for a series, but the Thunder didn't let that collapse stick with them. Oklahoma City's big three of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren were cooking in Game 2 on Sunday, with Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 34 points, 8 assists, and 4 steals. Holmgren was aggressive, especially in the first half. He was nearly invisible in Game 1. The Thunder even saw 38 combined points from Alex Caruso and Aaron Wiggins off the bench. The biggest change to Oklahoma City's finals approach was head coach Mark Daigneault subbing in Cason Wallace into the starting lineup for Isaiah Hartenstein. Wallace's gritty defense has been on display against the Pacers with at least 1 steal and 1 block in each game. The series now shifts to Indiana for the next 2 contests. The Pacers are 6-2 at home this postseason. Let's see if Oklahoma City can carry over their Game 2 momentum. Game 3 is on Wednesday, June 11th at 8:30 p.m. Let's go to our lowlight, the Indiana Pacers. Despite a tough loss on Sunday, the Indiana Pacers stole home court advantage on Thursday, and that's all that matters. As we mentioned in the highlight, the Thunder would have been up 2-0 had it not been for the cardiac Pacers and another Tyrese Haliburton dagger in Game 1. Haliburton is averaging 15.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and a block and a half against the Thunder. An interesting stat so far in this series is that Indiana hasn't had a 20-point scorer yet. Their team high was 19 points from Pascal Siakam in Game 1. The Pacers' main rotation has been consistent. Benedict Mathurin has his moments of being an off-the-bench spark plug. Andrew Nembhard is a good ball handler, and head coach Rick Carlisle is putting him on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on defense. Nembhard and SGA grew up together in Canada. Aaron Nesmith has had at least 2 triples in 4 of his last 5 games. However, Haliburton needs to be aggressive with his scoring. Yes, Oklahoma City's defense is stellar. Yes, I think it's clear that he's more or less a pass-first guard. But if your team needs to slow down an opposing run, the Stars need to channel their aggressiveness. At least 1 win in Indiana will go a long way in determining the eventual champion. Let's go over to our random stat. Instead of a random stat about a team or player, I'm going to turn the spotlight on myself, not in a narcissistic way. Like we did last year, we're going to look at how I did with Game of the Week predictions. So we are doing some form of Game of the Week. In the last 33 episodes, there were 32 Games of the Week. Special edition episodes had none, and we did 5 for our Christmas episode. Drum roll, please. Based on who would win the games, I had 18 correct and 14 incorrect, 56.3%. This is actually a decrease from Season 1, where it was a 22-11 correct to incorrect ratio. Man, I gotta lock in. What am I doing? The predicted margin of victory average for my 32 games was 6.8 points. The actual margin of victory average was 10.4. The 10.4 is slightly skewed since some of my games of the week were blowouts. The highest predicted margin I made was 15. There were 2 games won by 26 points and one by 41. I'm happy to say that there were 2 predictions that were nearly exact. In episode 11 on December 30th, I had Grizzlies over Suns 119-112. The final was Grizzlies 117-112. In episode 20 on March 3rd, we did Pistons Clippers. I had Pistons 122-115. The actual was Clippers 123-115. No, I don't have inside sources. No, I can't predict the future. Maybe we can get one exactly right next year. Oh, you thought we were done? No. Random Stat is in two acts this week in lieu of Game of the Week. Tyrese Haliburton has been on a heater this postseason, and it's continued against Oklahoma City. Haliburton has hit a game winner or just a clutch shot in every playoff series. Against Milwaukee in the first round, he eliminated the Bucks in Game 5 with a driving layup with 1.3 seconds left. In Cleveland in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, Haliburton hit a step-back triple with 1.1 seconds. For Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals at New York, he forced overtime with a step-back jumper. He thought it was a three-point buzzer beater, but his foot was on the line. That's why I say game winner or just a clutch shot. And against Oklahoma City in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, he made a pull-up jumper with 0.3 seconds. How could these get any cooler? First, the Thunder game winner was the latest game-winning shot in a finals game since Michael Jordan's buzzer beater versus the Utah Jazz in Game 1 of the 1997 Finals. Second, Indiana was trailing in every one of those scenarios. Third, each of Haliburton's shots except the Milwaukee one was on the road. Haliburton has been breaking hearts in arenas not named Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the Pacers' home arena. As we transition to Games 3 and 4 in Indiana this week, I don't know what we can expect. Just know that the game isn't over until the final buzzer. To get more insight into our finals preview this week, we have our 19th guest on Diehlman at Halftime Season 2. Let's get into it. So for our 19th guest of Season 2 on the Diehlman at Halftime podcast, we welcome Chris Smith. Chris is a recent graduate of Widener University, where he was a graduate assistant for the Athletic Communications Department. He has a Bachelor's of Business Administration with a concentration in sports and event management and an MBA in organizational leadership. Now, I've been waiting a while for Chris because Chris is actually my former coworker when I used to work at Widener. I was an assistant in the AthComs department. I was part-time. I wasn't a grad assistant, but I worked with Chris for a little over a year. What a ride that was. So, my man, how we doing today?
Doing great, man. Happy to finally make it here, man. And thanks for having me on.
So, Chris, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Pacers Thunder as the series is about to be underway. So my first question for you, not too long ago, a poll came out that said Tyrese Haliburton was the most overrated player in the NBA, and it was voted on by his peers. Do you think this actually helped the Pacers get to the finals as extra motivation, or do you think it was just Indiana's time to shine in the East?
So I don't want to take anything away from the Pacers and the magnificent season that they've had, but I think I've actually found a way that I can prove that Tyrese Haliburton was motivated by that quote, and I can show you here.
Oh, no.
So the poll took place on April 22nd, right? That was the exact day that it became publicized. Since that day, Haliburton took a jump, but he took a jump in the biggest hustle stat in the sport, rebounds. He's jumped from 3.5 before the comments to 5.7 rebounds after the comments. That's a massive jump. Like that's from a decent below average rebounder to someone you can actually trust to clean the glass for you. And that's 100%. Defense and rebounds are mostly effort stats, especially when you start to get to those late quarters, third and fourth quarter, when your legs start to go. And I think that little bit of motivation was all Haliburton needed to just up his game, not in terms of what he is as a scorer and a passer, but what he is as a hustle guy. He's getting more steals in the lanes, he's getting more rebounds, and you can see the Pacers are even living off of it because the way that they're running the break in these games and the way that they're running full court offense is something that we didn't even see in the regular season. So I think there is some help that poll did have for Tyrese Haliburton.
It was just a shocker, like when it came out, and now that the Pacers have gone on this run, it makes you think, who the hell voted in this poll? Like, I hope it wasn't any of his teammates, but maybe that's like some 4D chess, some extra motivation to mess with them. I don't know. But I'd love to know who was in that poll, hiding behind the anonymous banner or whatever you want to call it, put a name on it. So I don't know, but it definitely has helped. But I think Indiana has just taken over at the right time. And I think the Pascal Siakam trade definitely was in their favor. The Raptors wanted to start the rebuild process, or I guess continue the rebuild process. And now Indiana has Pascal Siakam on board. So I think the Pacers have just gotten things together at the right time. So
Absolutely.
next, Oklahoma City has been on fire this season, and their core is extremely young. What has been most impressive to you about the way the Thunder dominate on both sides of the ball? And with their plethora of draft capital, how long do you think their window is open? Because I watched the Thunder, and no matter what, they're on offense, SGA, the mid range is automatic. It goes in like 99% of the time.
Mm.
Then Alex Caruso gets a steal on, I don't know, Jokic or whoever. He'll body somebody up. And I'm like running a tally. I'm like, how many steals are we up to? So, what has been impressive to you about their both sides of the ball domination, and what about their window?
And that's what I think it is. Like the most impressive thing about it is normally when you think of young teams, you maybe think of like a young Rockets team or something like that, where the offensive talent is all there, but the defensive effort can be lacking, especially in the postseason when you're playing against top tier opponents. But you look at this Thunder team, and they're the best defensive team in the league. Like, not only do they have the size and the athleticism from 1 to 8, 9 guys deep, but they also, each and every person has such a different level of effort where their runs are like the most impressive things you've ever seen because it's not like a Celtics or a Warriors run where they just get hot from three, make 6, 7 of those, and then it's over. But they're a team that they won't give you a clean look at the basket for 5, 6 possessions straight. And as soon as they make you miss or they make you get a turnover, they're running the break, they're scoring, much like the Indiana Pacers, except they can just force it and generate it so fast. Where led by guys like SGA, Caruso, Jalen Williams, like these guys are running the break in the fourth quarter after playing 35 minutes. And wow, it is impressive what they can do, especially on the defensive side. I think that's what has made their journey a lot easier. And I think when we're talking about windows, man, I think comfortably you can say 6 to 8 years, right? That's when everybody's in their prime. That's when you'll have everybody. The core I'm talking here is SGA, obviously, Jalen Williams and Chet. They'll be in their early 30s in 6 to 8 years. So I think that's probably the right window to have. But I mean, I want to throw a curveball out there just to talk about like windows in the NBA right now. I mean, Victor Wembanyama and those Spurs with Castle, with Fox, and with the second overall pick to take one of those Rutgers superstars, assuming that flag will go with the one. I mean, I think everybody's window is a little tighter knowing that we might have a unicorn coming around the corner and really taking over the league soon. So credit to the Thunder, but I think the league's about as wide open as it's ever been.
Honestly, the Spurs, like you said, making a good run themselves. And when I was watching the draft lottery, when I watched it live, and the Spurs, it was getting to the top of the draft, and I'm like, good God, if Cooper Flag goes with Wemby, the league just fold the league while we still can. Adam Silver, fold the league while we still can.
Oh
It would have
my.
actually been over. But I think the Thunder and the Spurs, who knows, maybe they can be conference finals buddies for the next couple seasons or in the future. And yeah, their window is wide open right now. Some teams, it is closed shut, but the Thunder have definitely a little bit more leeway than other teams. And the fact that they are young and the fact they are in the West makes a difference. Because if it was the East, we'd all be like, well, it's the East and they got bombs over there. And I remember back in like the 2010s or whatever, and like one of the all-star starters would have been like cash considerations or something,
Yeah.
and like the Brooklyn first round pick. But I mean, the West, Oklahoma City really is just they dominate on both sides. They never give you a break. Like you said, 5 or 6 possessions, and yeah, they're not going away anytime soon.
Not at all.
So, between Indiana and Oklahoma City, whose playoff run has been more impressive opponents wise? Indy beat Milwaukee in five, Cleveland in five, and New York in six. Cleveland was the 1 seed, by the way. Oklahoma City beat Memphis in 4, Denver in 7, and Minnesota in 5. So Oklahoma City and Denver took them the farthest, and they were running on an interim coach and no bench. Memphis was pretty obvious they were going to get spanked. Minnesota, I was surprised to see them flame out so quick. Cleveland, though, I know a lot of people were thinking Cleveland, they were frauds. And I mean, they had some injuries. New York, I mean, hey, the Pacers got Tom Thibodeau fired, and Milwaukee, they've been a joke for the last few seasons. So, whose run between the two do you think was more impressive?
So I think if we're talking purely impressive, right? The word impressive is to me like a little bit more of like surprising, as if I didn't see it coming. And for that reason, I'm going to go with the Pacers because I don't think Pacer loyals could have told you that they were going to end up in the NBA Finals this year. I think that they've been the team that like if somebody were to come up to you before the playoffs and ask you who did you think were going to make the NBA Finals, you might have gone with a Knicks or a Celtics, or some people were going with the Cavs. I mean, for the people who think that the Cavs were frauds, imagine what they thought the Pacers were, right? Like, imagine what the players think. I mean, we just talked about with the first question. Tyrese Haliburton was named the most overrated player, and it was about 2 weeks before the playoffs started, or maybe about a month before the playoffs started. But the Pacers have been the ones that have jumped the most in terms of my eyes and expectations. Although I would say that obviously the Thunder defeating the Denver Nuggets and Nikola Jokic in 7 was probably the most impressive single series. But to me, as the 1 seed, I think a lot of people kind of knew the Thunder are coming this year. And as long as they get past the Nuggets, they're going to be in these NBA finals. And I don't think people could say the same thing for the Pacers at all.
The Pacers just took such a big jump, and the fact that they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals in back-to-back seasons. When you look at some of these other teams, the Celtics, they didn't make it back-to-back years. The Knicks, they just made it for the first time in 25 years. We all know the Sixers, what's going on with them. And the Pacers have just been, that old-fashioned lunch pail approach. They just do their work and go about their business and, just taking down some quality opponents. Like I said, Milwaukee's kind of been a dumpster fire. If Giannis gets traded, they're screwed. Cleveland, that was a good win. When they took 2 on the road, I kind of figured, this might be over. Same with the Knicks. That choke in game 1 did not help them at all. The Grizzlies, I don't know. John Moran said he figured them out and then proceeded to get injured, and then they proceeded to lose. So I'm like, bro, you're an 8th seed. You're not beating the Thunder. Sorry, just not happening.
Mm-mm.
The Timberwolves, that was a good series, but they just were too inconsistent. And then the Nuggets series was a really good series. And I don't know, man. I kind of figured maybe Nikola Jokic would have a chance, but we'll see next year if they can get a bench and David Adelman can get this team moving. But yeah, I think the Pacers overall just a better run so far, just based off of expectations. We knew Oklahoma City was going to do it. 68 wins, number 1 seed. Like you said, Pacers loyalists would have been like, if we make the conference finals, that's a good year. And then here you are in the NBA finals. You got a coach fired. I actually saw a stat, and it's not so much playoffs, but just in general. I think the Pacers have gotten 3 coaches fired this year. The Kings, when Mike Brown got fired, the Pacers were his last team. He got Thibodeau fired the other day.
Ooh.
And also, he got Mike Malone fired too for the Nuggets.
Malone? Oh, man.
So the Pacers are out here playing homewrecker or something. I don't know.
Man, and they're taking out coaches that you would have thought were like tenured guys with their teams, like guys who were by no means I would have thought on the hot seat this year. And you're seeing reports after their like final loss. It's not even 24 hours and they're out of the building.
Nah, they got them up out of there. They changed the locks. They, it's over. But definitely the Pacers, but I think both have been great as well.
Mhm.
So finally, who do you think hoists the Larry O'Brien trophy and why? In how many games? And do you have a hot take?
I really tried to find a way where I could see the Pacers beating the Thunder in 4 games. And unfortunately, I can't do it. I can't do it. The Thunder, they might be better at every single position than the Pacers. And then they might be better for the next 3 guys off the bench. They're just so deep. They play so well. They don't get tired. You've got the MVP on your team. I think they're going to win it. I want to give the Pacers respect and say Thunder in 6. It would not shock me if this ends up being a Thunder in 4 or 5 situation. I could see it going really similar to the Minnesota series where they go up 2-0 really quick and then they fall in one game, go down 2-1, and then that's just all she wrote from there. But I think in most of these games, you'll be watching it and it'll be mid fourth quarter, and you're just thinking, God, there's nothing the Pacers can do to stop this. And this is all respect to the Pacers. They have been upsetting everybody to make it here. They have surpassed everyone's ideas of what they can do. But I just think Haliburton seeing Caruso or Dort with their only goal, don't even worry about putting the ball in the basket. Your only goal is to make life difficult for Tyrese Haliburton and make these passing lanes difficult. And that's the other thing is Haliburton is a phenomenal passer, but the Thunder are the best team we've seen in those passing lanes, just getting those steals off of the passes and turning those into points immediately. I think this is a bad matchup. I don't think anybody can stop the Thunder. As for my hot takes, I have a few of them.
A few. Whoa, whoa. Okay, damn.
I, some things I think like maybe not everyone agrees with this, but these are at least the way that I feel about the Thunder and the way that this series is going to go. First off, I think the Thunder, the Timberwolves, and I think the Nuggets all could have beaten the Pacers in the finals just due to their depth and their size and their defense. Just the way that they played the game. I think the Pacers run their entire offense through Haliburton and the trust that he'll make the right play. And I think when you have an elite one-ball defender mixed with elite off-ball defenders to get in the lanes, it just becomes really hard to run that basketball for 4 wins. I think there's going to be 2 games where Haliburton goes under double-digit points and under double-digit shot attempts because he's trying to make the game. They force the ball out of his hands and they try to make everyone else, guys like Naismith and Nembhard, beat them. And Haliburton just gets run off of all of his shots. I think we could see that happen. I think it's going to happen earlier than later in the series, is that Haliburton thinks he's going to come out here and run the offense, and he realizes he can't find a shot for himself. There's just so many defenders in his face. And then my last one, I don't know quite this is a hot take, but more so looking forward, I think I see the Pacers, and they have so many of these guys that are like C-plus players, guys who you want on your playoff rotation, but they're not going to win the game for you necessarily. I think they move 2 or 3 of those guys, and I think if Milwaukee is willing to, or if Phoenix is willing to, I think the Pacers are an underrated location for a guy like Giannis or KD. With the way that Siakam just played in the playoffs and the contract he has to make the trade and the contracts match, you throw in a couple guys like a Benedict Mathurin or someone of that caliber, I could see there being quietly a big superstar on their way to Indiana. Small market team, but you can't deny that they've been on a run and they don't have one of those A-plus guys that you would think of.
So you're saying that for Durant or Giannis, that Siakam would have to be part of that deal? Is that where I'm getting at? Yeah, I
I
figured.
think
I figured because the contract. Now, if they somehow swindled Phoenix or Milwaukee and put Kevin Durant on their roster, good God, Kevin Durant will never beat the super team allegations
oh my
ever.
it can't be KD. If KD gets on that team and Siakam stays on that team, oh my God, they're gonna rip KD for the rest of his life.
They already are.
Yeah, he can't do it. A guy like Giannis, maybe, because he hasn't done it before. And oh my God, what a situation in Milwaukee right now.
Nah. No, the only thing with the Bucks, I can't see them trading Giannis in conference, especially because they just lost to the Pacers. That would literally be Kevin Durant all over again. If you can't beat them, join them. Giannis would be booed relentlessly in Milwaukee. Like that would literally be the Warriors. I mean, maybe not the Steph Curry, Durant Warriors, but pretty close enough. I like the ones that you brought up. I have Thunder in 5. I just don't see this going the distance. I don't see it going to 6. A sweep, let's be generous. I'll give them the gentleman's sweep. They'll get one maybe in Indiana. If they win in Oklahoma City, good God, this could be an interesting series. But definitely some good points there. My hot take, let's say Jalen Williams just explodes. I mean, just goes off, like maybe an all-timer. Let's see him maybe not compete with SGA for finals MVP, but really just blows the lid off the Pacers. And I'm trying to think your take. So you said Haliburton under 10 points and or shot attempts, which is interesting because Tyrese Haliburton can be very passive at times where he just does not take a lot of shots. And thankfully for them against the Knicks, like they were able to get the job done because we scream at everybody else, like Anthony Edwards, everybody's trying to crown him as the face of the league, and everybody's like, well, why didn't you take that many shots? You have 2 shot attempts at halftime. Like, what are you doing, bro? So he definitely needs to be a little more aggressive. And there was another one.
Oh, the last one was I think the Thunder, the Timberwolves, and the Nuggets
Yes.
could have beaten the Pacers just because of the size and the depth.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Nuggets could have given them fits. Jokic against Turner. Turner's a good shot blocker, but Jokic makes everybody look like an amateur. And Minnesota could have been good too. Anthony Edwards. And that would have truly been a first championship. Minnesota's never won anything. Indiana's never won anything. Oklahoma City, they claim the Seattle one. I don't know how many fans actually consider it, though, because they want the Supersonics back. Maybe we'll get the Supersonics eventually. Who knows? But I just do not see the series going the distance. And we'll see. Thunder, Pacers, as of this recording, starting tonight at 8:30 in Oklahoma City. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on Diehlman at halftime. We hope to get you back on in the future.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on social media. I have 2 X or Twitter accounts and 2 Instagram accounts. The podcast accounts are under @Diehlman_NBA for both X and Instagram. My personal X account is @LarryDiehlman18 and my personal Instagram is @Mr_Sports18. They're also in the description on Buzzsprout, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you to Chris Smith for being our guest this week on the podcast. Remember, you can follow him on Instagram @Chris_Smith8. Just a reminder, like I mentioned last week, if the series goes to 5 games, I said 4 or 5 last week, but with it being 1-1, the series is not going to be a sweep now. If the finals goes to 5 games, then next week will be our season finale. If the series goes past 5 games, there will be 2 more episodes after today. Now, let's say, for example, one of the teams is up 3-1 after 4 games. Game 5 is next Monday, the 16th. If it looks like a team's going to win in Game 5, then there might be a possibility that next week's episode will be on Tuesday, June 17th. So just keep that in mind. I will keep everybody updated on social media, but just keep that in mind, and we will see how the finals turns out this week. And don't forget to spread the word about Diehlman at halftime. See you next time, fellow Hoops fans.